Okay. Welcome to everyone. I see Katie's watching, and Chaya, and Leah, and hopefully Yael. And then we have Yael, another Yael in person, and Aryeh, and my mother, who's traveling across the Atlantic still on a long cruise. And to everyone who joined us, Shana Batsheva, and everyone else who's at the Shin. So of course we're going to dedicate our learning tonight to the success of the soldiers, defeating our enemies, returning of the hostages, the refuah shlema of everybody who's injured, sick, and the comforting of the families of those who lost loved ones. What can I say? This is a strange time, a really strange time. It's amazing. Noga and I went to Haifa yesterday, and we're on the train, and everything is pretty much normal. Like, you see a lot of soldiers on the train, but everything is normal. And we're driving around. I rented a car to drive around a bit, and everything's normal. It's like you wouldn't even know that there's a war going on. It's so crazy. And so on the one hand, you could say, wow, that's not okay. I need to really just be depressed and sad all the time. But if I was a soldier sitting on the Gazan border, all I would want to know is that everybody back there is living their lives. And they're happy and eating in restaurants and going to work and doing what they need to do, because that's why I'm sitting on the border. You know, I was in the army. I was in an artillery unit. I hated my army service. Every time I would go, I'd be like, what am I doing? But I remember what it was to be serving in Miluim. So it would give me a lot of comfort to know that people are living their lives. So when I saw basically everyone between the north and the south is living their lives, that made me very happy. And Bezrat Hashem, She hear good news. Okay, so we're learning from Torah Aleph in the Likutey Moharan. And what we're learning about, we started off by him saying, by Rebbe Nachman saying, that basically everything comes down through the conduit of davening and Torah. And he connects davening and Torah to chet and nun, which means chen, which means grace. And he says right now, the chen, the chashivut, Shalom Yisrael, the importance and the grace of the Jewish people is by the goyim. And in order for the Jewish people to get it back, they have to embrace Torah and davening. And then he goes into explaining how you do that. He brings this concept that a isha Yisraeli tzarich tamid nistakem b'sechel shekol davar. That a person uses the term isha Yisraeli because Yisrael is li rosh. I have a brain. So he's basically saying the Jewish person that uses their brain will be able to see the wisdom in everything. And in order to see the wisdom in everything, you have there are two opposite sides of seeing this wisdom. One is Yaakov and one is Esav. And that's where we stopped last week. So we're going to continue with Yaakov. We did do 2 paragraphs here. I'm just going to read them quickly. Yevaer sheYaakov nikra ken mishum shezeu hayita b'chinato. Why was Yaakov called Yaakov? Because this was his attribute. Listaked b'sechel shekol davar. To look at the divine wisdom in everything. V'achokma hi b'chinat shemesh ve'b'chinat ot chet. Wisdom is an aspect of sun, meaning light, meaning the ultimate bright light, and it's also connected to the letter chet. Now he's going to break it down in Rebbe Nachman style. V'chochma ze b'chinat Yaakov. So wisdom is connected to Yaakov. Ki Yaakov zachar dargazo, because Yaakov merited this level. She'istakem b'sechel shekol davar v'yidkasher alav ad shena'aseh lo or b'chol derachav. That he looked at the wisdom within everything to such a degree that it made a light for him to guide him on the path. V'ari'ah sheYaakov zachar leb'china zo, v'araya, and the proof that Yaakov merited this thing, ki Yaakov zachar leb'chora. Yaakov merited to buy the first birthright from his brother, al yedei kach, through his wisdom, by seeing the sechem, the wisdom in everything. Shekana ota mi Esav, that he bought it from Esav. Hey Yossi, welcome.
I brought a friend.
Okay, great. Friends are welcome. What's your name?
Nisim.
Nisim, welcome. Shalom Aleichem. Okay. We're talking about the wisdom of Yaakov. You can take that chair, or there's more chairs there, whatever you want. Okay? No problem. So, Yaakov was smart enough to buy the birthright from his brother Esav. Ve'abechora yireshit. The firstborn is also called Reshit, which is first. In Reshit is also the Torah. She'arei abachor u'rishon bebanim. The firstborn of the sons is the first of the boys. She'reshit u'b'chinat chochma. Reshit is connected to wisdom. Kamo she'katuv, as it's written, Reshit chochma. This is from Tehillim. Reshit chochma, meaning first, wisdom. She'arei chochma nikreit Reshit. Chochma is called Reshit, it's called first. Ve'vechora hi Reshit, and the firstborn is also the first. U'memele hi b'chinat chochma. So he's saying all this is connected. See, this is the way that Rebbe Nachman builds his lessons, by making all of these connections and then brings them together at the end. So he's saying Yaakov had this ability to see the godly wisdom in everything. And he saw an opportunity. He buys the birthright and gets the blessings that was meant for Esav, or I guess it was really meant for Yaakov, but it was, at least on the surface, meant for Esav. And he did this through his wisdom, and through his wisdom he merited to be the firstborn, and then he merited, I guess, to get the brachot. Umekevan she Yaakov, you want to ask something?
No, I think.
Yes, you want to say something.
Well, I mean, I think I'm wrong, but I was wondering whether when he took the firstborn, when he bought that from Esav, did he also buy chokhmah? Was there chokhmah in the firstborn?
No.
Part?
I guess there probably is, but what he's saying here is that basically he was smart enough to know that this was an opportunity.
I'm wondering if he already had the chokhmah, or he also got more chokhmah
No, he already had the chokhmah.
Okay.
Because he's going to say it right now. And you can ask your question in just a second, if you remember it. Yaakov zecha lebechora. Yaakov married to the firstborn. Sharei zecha lebchinat chokhmah, because he was connected to wisdom. V'zeh b'chinat hakatuv, and this is what it was written. She'amar Esav al Yaakov shenatal mimenu et habechora v'abachot. Yaakov said, Esav said about Yaakov, when he took from him the firstborn and the blessings, Achi kara shmo Yaakov v'yakveni ze pa'amayim. Isn't my brother called Yaakov because he outwitted me twice? V'targum unkeles chakmeni, that he outwitted me, that he outsmarted me. Dahainu she'Esav tama, Esav wondered, ha'em mipnei ze nikra b'shem Yaakov. Is that why my brother was called Yaakov, al shem chokhmato? Because he has this ability to know, to have wisdom. Shehaya chacham mimenu pa'amayim, that he was smarter than him twice. But akach mimenu gam et bechora v'gam et brachot, that he took from him the firstborn and also the blessings. Harei Yaakov nikra b'shem Yaakov al shem chokhmato. So that's your answer. Yaakov is called Yaakov because he had this innate wisdom in him.
So inherent in the name Yaakov is somewhere in chokhmah.
He's saying that Yaakov, he just gave the proof here. He says, Yaakvenu ze pa'amayim. And Unkelis translates Yaakveni as Chakmeni. He outsmarted me. So Yaakov, the meaning of Yaakov is to outsmart.
Like we normally think of it as the heel, to do with the heel
like
of this,
Hashanah,
but Unkelis has done something else slightly interesting with it.
That's how Rebbe Nachman is bringing it, because he's trying to make a point.
Yeah.
The point that he's trying to make, if we always connect it to the lesson, is there's godly intellect, understanding, wisdom in everything. He says in every physical object and also in everything that happens in your life. And here Yaakov was on the level that he was smart enough to see these things and to take the opportunity when Esav came. And Esav realized this, and he says, wow, I guess that's why they called you Yaakov. Because Yaakov means Chakmeni, means you are smarter than me, and you outsmarted me twice. What do you want to ask? You remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like a side question, that we see here that the birthright was actually purchased.
Yeah.
Right? And it also reminded me of the cave in Hebron, the cave of Machpelah. It was purchased, right?
Yeah.
So was there the other times that we read about that it was that are similar to these two?
Yeah, I would know that. I don't know these things.
Where something's purchased.
Where something is purchased, like a birthright. It seems like a birthright is like a deed to the house, a deed to a car. You know, you can.
Right. No, it's just interesting that they were not given; they wanted to actually purchase the item.
Yeah.
All right, it's just more of a side.
And then there's the whole story of Yitzchak saying, "Are you really Esav? But are you really Esav?" When Yaakov says, "Yeah, I'm Esav," but you don't sound like him, you don't look like him, you don't smell like him,
You don't feel like him.
and also you don't feel like him. I mean, he did put this. His mother put the fur on him, but there's a deeper meaning behind that. What he was saying is that I'm about to give you the bracha that I was going to give your mafia boss, killer brother, who's a man of the world. You're a little nerd who sits in the tent and a mama's boy. Can you handle being the mafia boss? Because I'm about to take your world and flip it upside down by giving you this bracha. Are you really Esav? Can you really handle it? And he's saying, yeah, I can handle it. And then we see from the second that he got that blessing, his mother says to him, you got to run, got to flee for your life. And he leaves that whole enclosed, isolated world, and he's thrown into the world. He's cheated. He's manipulated. He has to deal with things that he never had to deal with before because Yitzchak said to him, fine, I'm giving you the bracha, and you bought the bechorah. Now you got to live it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So your point here is about how you can see this sechel. It's more than just regular smarts and regular intellect. There's this ability to sort of see beyond, right?
Yeah.
So you could also say that a regular smart person like Yaakov in that situation could have said to himself, it would be good for me to get the birthright. But I think he's saying something else, which is he saw something deep within this birthright, within Esav, right? Like he
probably saw what he was supposed to be in it. And maybe he didn't even know it intellectually, he intuited it.
He saw himself. He saw a part
He
of
saw,
himself.
yeah, he felt like when a person says, for example, I lead a bunch of minions. Everywhere basically I go, I end up leading a minion. And when many years ago, like 20 something years ago, when I could barely read the davening, I felt inside of myself, I'm supposed to be leading a minion. And so somehow I had the wisdom to take the opportunity. When the shul that I was davening in fell apart and nobody wanted to lead the davening, I ended up leading the davening. And that basically happened in 3 different shuls. The shul fell apart and I took it over and led the davening. Now, this morning, I'm having a hard time adjusting to the time change. So I'm waking up at 5 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. And my 18-year-old son, I should mention that it was Reb Shlomo Karbach's yard site today. Yeah. So my son's studying in yeshiva and Yitzhar, and he came back last night so he can hang out at the kever, and he went again today. And he says to me this morning, I woke him up this morning, and he said, what time were you up? I said, I was up at 5. He said, so why didn't you daven nates? Could have daven nates, then gone back to sleep. And I said, because I lead a minyan at 8:30.
Oh, it's late.
Yeah, 8:30. It used to be 7:50. Then it was 8. Then it was 8:15. Now it's 8:30.
Oh, sliding, slippery slope.
It's terrible. It's really 8:35. It's really bad. But the reason that I keep going to that minyan is because I know that the few times that I've missed it, they end up starting at 9, or they don't. It just fall apart. So I said to him, when I get to Olam Haba, and they show me my life, and they say, you daven nates, shekoch. But you were supposed to daven at 8:30 because that minyan fell apart because you weren't davening there.
Right.
That's the type of chokhmah that he's talking
It's
about.
like a calling or a shayachut, like a...
It's the ability to see
Potential.
something that logically doesn't necessarily make sense, but you feel like this is the right thing for me in a positive Torah way.
Like you said, you're intuiting.
Intuiting, yeah. And in order, he's going to continue, we'll see how far we get tonight. But I said last week that in order to hear it, you have to be so quiet that you don't hear your own ego. And later on, he's going to talk about the sun, the moon, malchut, and how basically you have to be an empty vessel in order to hear this intuition in the proper way and to act on it. Okay, so let's just keep going for now. V'chochma v'sechen shnehem b'chol davar. Right, we did that, right? V'chochma v'sechen sheyeshno b'chol davar ze b'chinat shemesh. The wisdom and knowledge that there is in everything, this is connected to the sun. Ki ha'sechen hu me'ir lo la'adam b'chol darachav b'ruchniut. Because the intellect is what gives a person light in all of the ways that they go in life, in a spiritual way, but meaning like not in a physical way. It's not actually, there isn't a light actually coming out of your head, but there's a light in your head. Everyone experiences it on whatever level. Everybody has a light that says, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go here. Right? I'm assuming all of us made Aliyah, or at least moved to Israel. We did that because we had a light that said to us, you're supposed to be in Israel. And that light is the shemesh. That's the light of the sun. And that came from a sechen pnimi, an internal understanding of where a person is supposed to be in life. Just like the light of the sun shows us where to go during the day. The shorsham and yon, and the supernal root, chochma v'shemesh and b'china achat, the same. This supernal root up, we have like God's energy coming down, and it is constantly being constricted. So it's really like a funnel, and that this is the concept of different worlds, Asiya, Tzilut, and I don't know the names of all the worlds. It means that it's Bria, Tzia. It's Hashem's light coming down in a constricted form.
It's also the stirot, so the chokhmah.
Through the sphere.
The chokhmah is the sun, Bina is the moon, right?
Malchut is the moon, I think. I think
It is connected to Bina.
he mentions it here, but we're going to get to that in a second. So what I wanted to say is that we have Chokhmah and we have the sun, and they're connected to from the same root. And this is a text proof for this. The light of the tzaddikim is like a bright light like a noga light that goes and gets brighter until the middle of the day. Daukam shel tzadikim meira. The way of tzadikim is to bring light. Just like the light of the sun that starts off in the beginning of the day with a small light, and then as it comes up to the middle of the day, it becomes very strong. It goes and continues until midday. And then the light is in its strongest form. The way that a person grasps the intellect that there is in everything, ma'at is very, very slowly. Just like the sun. Here I'm taking this will be the sun. I'm doing it on the camera here. Okay, the sun comes up in the morning, and the sun slowly goes up and up and up and up, and it reaches midday, and then it slowly goes down. That's how you will begin to perceive the light of the intellect that's in everything. You're not going to get it all the time. You're not going to get it right all the time. But ma'at, slowly, you're going to get a feel for it, and you're going to understand more and more and more. Where are we? How do you do this? By looking at, trying to understand what's within everything, and it's very slowly. In the beginning, you just have a tiny little spark of a hint and an understanding of how Hashem wants you to serve Him in your unique way. And then afterwards, you're going to understand and grasp more hints until it's so bright, it's like the light of the sun. At midday, that this is the strongest light. Meaning that you're going to try one thing, you're going to try another thing, until eventually you find the way that you, in your unique way, can serve Hashem. And then, in the beginning, you're like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try having guests for Shabbos. No, not my thing. I'm going to try learning all day. Not my thing. I'm going to try like one mitzvah, like tzitziot. I saw a guy in shul today with tzitziot that were like ropes. They're the biggest tzitziot I ever saw. And it didn't look like he was so Haredi. Like he was dressed in a pretty modern way. So it was like, wow, this guy decided that tzitziot was his mitzvah. And so you're trying all these things until you find one thing, yeah, that's what I connect with. That's what I do. I have my 3 older daughters, they handed out candles in the shuk, but one of them, she's still doing it. She now lives in Tel Aviv, so she does it in Tel Aviv. And she said it's really hard in Tel Aviv. You know, the shuk here in Jerusalem is a piece of cake. Tel Aviv, and especially when there were all the protests going on, people were spitting at her. People were angry at her. Yeah, they would really get angry at her. And but she decided that that's her thing, and she stuck with it. And I also told her, whenever somebody doesn't want to take the candles, like they'd say, no, I don't want the candles. So I say, you should bless them that one day they should want the candles. Bless you, Bezat Hashem. One day you'll see me, and you'll want the candles. And sometimes that worked. Sometimes people would say, I want them now. So, for example, that's her thing. You know, I have a whole list of things. One things I teach this class, I did the davening, I have guests on Shabbos, and whatever, a million other things that I do. All of those things came about by me trying to figure out, okay, Hashem, you put me in this place, in this body, in this time, with these talents, what am I supposed to be doing? Because when we get to the world to come, we know that we're going to basically be shown our life, not necessarily as a movie. I don't know how it's going to work, but our life is going to be shown to us, and Hashem is going to say, okay, I gave you 80 years in this world. What did you do with them? And we have to answer. So we know that that's coming, and now is the time that we can do something about it. In the world to come, you can't do anything about it. So now take advantage of your time here and do it. Rebbe Nachman says that there's no greater business deal than this world. The mitzvot are sitting on the ground like diamonds. Pick them up and make yourself rich. That's how he describes it. And so what he's saying in this lesson is, how do you figure out what you're supposed to do? So in the time of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or maybe not so much the Rebbe, but the Baal Shem Tov would tell people, you have to go here and do this. And people would listen, they would go and do it. The Rebbe was a little less direct, but the Rebbe, there's so many stories about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I mean, I told many of them here. I have a podcast of stories. There's a story that I recorded today for this week's episode, where the Rebbe will say something like, I told this story about Rabbi Weinberg, where it was 3 months before Pesach, and the Rebbe gives him a box of matzah. It says, if you happen to be in this town in Africa,
Oh, I remember the story.
right, and then give it to the Jew there. He had no plans of going to this town. It was 3 months before Pesach, but sure enough, gets an invitation to South Africa, and on the way the plane breaks down, and it lands exactly in the town that the Rebbe said. And for 3 days he walks around, and the last hour he finds the guy and gives him the matzah. And the guy explains that he was a Holocaust survivor, and he wanted to run away and not be a Jew. And he gave Hashem 30 days to prove that there's a God, and this was the last day. And he said, this is from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who said for me to give it to you, and said 3 months ago when I had no plans. And so, of course, that helped the guy reconnect. So there's stories like that, but in the world that we live in right now, pretty much nobody can tell you what you're supposed to do. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. And the way you figure it out is this listening is to the sechem shebechol davar.
Maybe that's good. Like, you have to go through the process.
Sechel, sorry.
That you have to go through it yourself means that you really come to it. You know, you really come to it from your own.
It's great if you could do it. I think a lot of people are frustrated that they haven't figured it out.
Well, there are people still today who go to tzaddikim or like write to the Rebbe with the Igros or whatever to try and, you know, get guidance. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, Colonel Sanders didn't start KSC till he was like 80.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And 7-Up. You know the story of 7-Up?
No, I've never heard of Sanders.
I don't know if it's real or not. The guy who made soda, he called it 1-Up. He tried again, made it 2-Up.
Oh, come on, that's a joke.
Who cares? When he got to 7-Up, it worked. Okay.
Never heard that one.
So now, yeah.
And J.K. Rowling sent her book to like 12
That's it. She was rejected
She
all
was
over.
there before.
Okay. B'chokhma v'sechem sheyesh b'chol davar ze b'chinat ot chet. B'chinat chen. So now we're going back to where we started. This is connected to chet. And chen, which means grace. Ki ot chet ilashon chiyut. Chet is also for the word chiyut, which is vitality, life force. The chiyut hu b'chinat chokhma. And chiyut is connected to wisdom. Ki ha-chokhma v'asechem hu ha-chiyut shen kol davar. The wisdom and understanding and everything is what gives it life. K'mo shekatuv, as it's written, v'chokhma techiyah v'chulei ba'aleha. Wisdom is what keeps a person going. Keeps a person, alive. V'chokhma mechiyah et ha'adam hazocher hazeh. And the wisdom, it keeps a person alive, the person that merits this. Now, we all know this. Just take a musician, for example. The person who knows how to play and people appreciate it and they might even make their living from it, they know what they're supposed to be doing. And the music is what keeps them alive and the audience what keeps them going. But a person that doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing, then they're lacking that wisdom. Well, and according to this, the attribute of chokhmah, which is connected to looking at the wisdom and everything. This is its life force. Is hinted at in the letter chet. And chet is connected to chen, which is grace. And that's what we started off. Chen is wisdom, and the nun in chen is the Torah. After you explain that in order to reach this level of grace, we have to look at the wisdom within everything. And what does this mean? That means to use wisdom and use our wisdom to see the wisdom in everything. And this is the life force, which is connected to the letter chet. Now he's going to give the other letter. So we now know how to find the wisdom in everything. But what's the nun?
Why is the Torah nun? Do you know?
Yeah.
Is it
my question.
nun sharabina?
He's going to say it here.
Okay.
I don't remember. אך מחימת שאור השכל והחוכמה הזו שיש בכל דבר, but because of the light and of the wisdom that there is in everything, הוא גדול מאוד והשכל הגשמי של האדם הוא מוגבל, because this light that's within, the godly light that's within everything, is so great that a person's intellect is limited, לכן אי אפשר לזכות אליו, כי אם על ידי בחינת נון. A person cannot merit to receive this godly wisdom within the things that they experience in life unless it's through the letter nun, shehi bechinat malchut, which is connected to malchut. And malchut,
when you look at the sfirot, you have the sfirot, and then it has all the 22 letters. And I think it's saying that nun goes
malchut
across.
is nun. So malchut I know is the lowest. I don't know a lot about the sfirot. I have a chavuta that's very into the sfirot, so because of him. Okay. So I know Keter is at the top, malchut's at the bottom,
Correct.
and basically it's like those things that you would pour water in, and they would split and go down the different channels, and then come into a little bucket at the bottom.
Like those Kiddush cups.
Oh, exactly. That's a good analogy. So it's all coming down from Keter, but malchut is the cup at the bottom that's collecting it all.
It's like self-actualization of the whole thing.
It's an empty vessel, yeah, in a sense. It's an empty vessel that receives all of that, but it doesn't have any power on its own.
No, it's sovereignty over all of the others.
Or under all of the others.
Well,
Okay, let's continue. But the point that he's trying to make is that if you want to receive this wisdom, you have to be like malchut. You have to be a receptacle for all that's coming from above.
It's the feminine sphere. It's Shechina. It's the feminine sphere. The others are masculine. So,
Right.
it's like the receiver.
Exactly. Okay, shehi b'chinat malchut, shehi b'chinat emunah. Malchut is connected to emunah, which is faith, which is trust in Hashem. Kamosh Katuv, as it's written, of Nei Shemesh Yinon Shmo. Before Kodem Shemesigim at the Shemesh, before you reach the level of Shemesh, shehi b'chinat chokhmah, which is connected to wisdom, which you mentioned before, because it's a light. Tzarich la'asik et b'chinat nun. First, you have to achieve the aspect of nun. Before you receive the light, you have to have a vessel to receive the light. Upelush Rashi, and Rashi explains ala milah nun yinon. Sorry, regarding the word yinon, shehi lashon malchut. So yinon, I know, is one of the names of Mashiach, and the word yinon is connected to malchut. It's connected to kingship or sovereignty. Sheshoresh teva yinon hu ha'ot nun. And what's the root of this? It's connected to nun. נמצא שהאות nun רומזת על ספירת המלכות. So then we understand that when we have nun and the chen is connected to wisdom, nun is connected to malchut. שהיא בחינת אמונה. That's connected to faith in Hashem, trust in Hashem. לקבל עול מלכות שמיים באמת ובתמימות. To accept the responsibility of Torah and mitzvot in a true way and in a pure and sincere way. ולצפות ולהשתוקק לקבל את אור השכל דקדושה. The person should expect and long for receiving the light of this holy wisdom that is found in everything. וביאור הדברים, and an explanation of these things, קודם שזוכים למדרגה זו של להסתכל בשכל של כל דבר. Before a person merits to be on the level of being able to see the wisdom in everything, שהוא שכל נפלא ואור גדול, which is a wondrous understanding and a great light, צריך אדרבה לצמצם את השכל. You have to first constrict your own intellect. In order to receive the great light that Hashem has in the things that happen in your life, you have to first remove your own intellect. שזוהי בחינת מלכות. This is what malchut is. כמו שדרש את הפסוק באורך צדיקים כאור נוגה הולך באור עד נכון היום. Just like we explained the verse that the light of the tzaddikim is like a bright light that gets stronger until the middle of the day. שבתחילה האור והשכל שבצמצום כאין זריחת השמש. Just like the light and the intellect that there is, it's constricted, like the light of the sun when it starts in the beginning of the day. And how do you constrict your intellect? You do it through emunah. That a person believes that there is godly wisdom in everything that's happening in their lives. Even if a person doesn't understand it. And when a person makes themselves smaller and relies only on their faith, then you'll merit to get this godly wisdom.
So is that the whole concept of being bittul?
Bittul is more humility. In a sense, they're connected. Here he's saying, there's this great light coming down. But basically, if you make a shadow, you're going to block it. The light's coming down, but you make a shadow. How do you get more of the light? Well, you can make less of a shadow. Make more space for the light to come in. You want to get all the light? Remove what's blocking it completely, and all the light will come down. And what's blocking it? It's our natural understanding of the world. I'll just give you a simple example. I have a debt with the Iriya. I don't know how to pay it. I don't have the 4,000 shekels that they need. This is a real life example. It's happened to me many times. And how do I pay for it? How do I pay for it? How do I pay for it? And I don't know how to pay for it. So I just naturally get to the point where I lift up my hands and I say, Hashem, this is beyond me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. And I do what I have to, if I have to call the Oya, I tell them, listen, I need 30 days to figure it out. But I'm trusting Hashem to help me figure it out. And at some point Hashem sends me an idea. Oh, you could pay it in installments with this, and this person owes you money, and you can get that. But these are things that I didn't think about before. I allowed Hashem to put this sechel into my brain because I made my brain smaller, my intellect smaller, in order to receive Hashem's intellect.
That sounds like a bittul. Why did you say that it's not?
I think it's different because I think that bittul is humility.
Yeah.
So, we're going to finish soon. There's this thing with honor. Okay, somebody wants to give you an award, and it says in Pirkei Avot, the person that seeks honor runs away from them. The person that runs away from honor runs after them. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to be like in Pirkei Avot, and I'm going to say, thank you very much, but I don't want the honor. Mm. That's a bit egotistical. Because if you're really humble, you receive the honor, but you don't let it go to your head. That's the ultimate level of being humble, and that's bittul.
Wow.
Right? That you're standing there on the stage, you're giving a speech, but it's not coming from a place of ego. You're really humbled. You're really just really grounded. You're almost like, Hashem, do I really have to stand on stage and give this speech? Do I really have to hear all this praise from these people? Fine. They want to say it. Let them say it, and let me get back to my learning and my life and whatever. That's bittul. And that takes real work. It's not an easy thing to do. And this is saying, take your ego and that you think that you can figure everything out and put it aside. Let Hashem figure it out for you. I've talked about this many times. We had 2 girls that got married within a month and a half. The total was about 160,000 shekels. My wife and I don't have any money. Whatever, that's how life worked out for us. We do have a house. We are able to make ends meet. We had like 4,000 shekels in savings, and one daughter says, I'm getting married. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, don't do that. This is my wedding. That's your problem. Don't put your stress on me. And then my older daughter was like, oh wow, I better get things figured out. And then within 3 weeks she got engaged, the older daughter. So she had been going out with this guy, and I think that helped her. I don't know. The Rebbe had some bracha that if the younger sister gets married first and the older sister agrees with a full heart, she'll get married. She'll get engaged before the other one gets married. And that's what happened. So, Baruch Hashem, Mamish had no idea how I was going to pay for this. And it's real. The hall calls and says, we need 10,000 shekels now. You want to hold this wedding now. What do you do in a situation like that? It's exactly what he said here, that you can't rely on yourself. You only have to have emunah. And you have to understand that Hashem is running the world, and it was a miracle. Money came, the first wedding paid for. Like literally people that I don't know around the country sent us money. I didn't even ask anyone for money. We just announced it at the Shabbos table that our girls are getting married. Yeah, just like that. And literally I was getting bit. Sorry, Yael, it was bit. Bit, like all day, 10 shekels, 100 shekels, 1,000 shekels. One person gave 18,000 shekels.
Wow.
An anonymous person, I don't even know who it is. So then the first wedding, Baruch Hashem, then came the second wedding. I was like, Hashem, okay, you did a miracle for the first one, but now I got to give the money again. And I can't explain to you how it happened, but it happened and it was paid for. We don't have any debts from the weddings, and I didn't take any loans, and I didn't have any more money. And then when it was all over, and I had like all this cash like in my hand because everybody got paid in cash, in envelopes, all gone back to zero again. So that's what he's trying to say in this lesson, that you have to get to this point where you just let go. You let go and you let God. And when you do that, then Hashem is able to bring in a divine intellect that you don't have on your own. Okay, so I want to tell a short story about Rebbe Shlomo. There was a rabbi, this is a story that my rabbi of blessed memory used to tell, Rebbe Sholem, who was very close to Shlomo Karabach. And there was some rabbi, he mentioned his name, I don't remember who he was, some rabbi in New York who was constantly putting down Shlomo. And I think one time he saw Shlomo hugging some woman, which I remember asking Reb Sholem, so do we hug women? He's like, no, of course we don't hug women. Well, what about Shlomo? He's like, that's Shlomo's problem. Shlomo will have to answer in Shemayim why he was hugging women. You and I, we don't hug women, we don't shake their hands, we don't touch women, except for your wife. Just to clarify. So this rabbi got really upset at Shlomo, and Shlomo was supposed to give a concert, and the concert was canceled. So he gets immediately after the concert was canceled, he gets a phone call from some yeshiva somewhere in upstate New York. Shlomo, we want you to do a concert. He's like, oh great, because it was just canceled. Where I was supposed to perform was just canceled. And they said, how much do you take? He said, I take $3,000 for a concert. So they said, oh, Shlomo, we don't have $3,000. It's a lot of money. He said, listen, I'll make you a deal. You promote and you tell everyone that I'm giving a concert. And whatever you make, you give me up to $3,000. The rest, if you only bring in $500, I'll take $500. Anything beyond the $3,000, you'll keep. So they said, fine. So they give the concert. And they had raised something like $2,500. And that's what Shlomo got paid. And after the concert, this guy comes over to him. And it turns out that the rabbi that fired him came to the concert. I don't know why. But after the concert, he's watching Shlomo talking with everyone. And this guy comes over to Shlomo and he says, Shlomo, this was like in the 80s. He said, I lost my job. And he said, I'm a computer programmer, and it's a really good job. And I run these big mainframe computers, but I became a Baal Tshuva, and I told them I don't work on Shabbos. And one of the computers went down on Shabbos, and they called me, and I didn't answer the phone. And they're calling and calling and calling, and finally they come to my house, they knock on the door. And they said, it's an emergency, you have to come in and get the computer going. And I told them, sorry, I keep Shabbos now, and they fired me. And he said, and I haven't been able to find a job, and I don't have enough money to support my family. So Shlomo gives him all the money from the concert. And then he gives him a hug, and he blesses him. And this rabbi was watching from a distance. And he goes over to Shlomo, and he apologizes to him. He said, I'm really sorry. So that's the story. And, what's in that story is really lessons that we learn again and again, to be very careful when you're judging another person, because you don't know. people were very critical of Shlomo. I never met Shlomo. I just knew his student very well. But I can tell you that you just look at what's happening with Shlomo yard site gatherings around the country, and I can tell you from leading the davening at Mayanot, plenty of Haredim from Meir Sharim come, all kinds of people come.
That's how we're doing.
Oh yeah, I did the davening at Mayanot. And Shlomo's davening is really connecting with people on a deep level. You know, there's a lot of controversy around him, but one thing is for sure that he touched a lot of people's hearts. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should only be married to judge people positively, and we should hear good news. B'ezrat Hashem. Sing the Shlomo Nigun.